Nice gospel, huh? Well, it's about the things that we cannot control in our lives, so of course it is going to be hard to hear. And there is so much that we can't control. We cannot control a thing about the past that is gone. Nothing we can do about it. We cannot control the future one bit. And even in the present, there are so many circumstances that we are powerless to control or change. So, what can we control? Many of you will remember 5 years ago when Hurricane Irene visited us. She was not a welcome guest. I was dog sitting for some friends of mine, and as a seminarian, that was a real treat because it meant that I got their whole house to myself. And after years in the seminary, I loved it. But the hurricane started on the day after I got there, and it rained all day. And then the next day, it rained just as hard all day. And that night before I went to bed, I thought, if this keeps going, I'm going to have to put together a plan. Well, forget that, because at 3 in the morning, I was awoken to the cops pounding on the door. And they said, "Get out. We're evacuating the neighborhood." And I said, "Actually, this isn't my house, and this isn't my dog, and I don't have anywhere to go." And they said, "Too bad, gotta go. Look in your backyard." And I looked, and there's 7 feet of water in the backyard, over the shed. And he said, "We're gonna cut the power off to the house because there's an electrocution risk here now. You gotta go." So off I went, without even a chance to enact my perfect plan. But even if I had planned, those plans so often don't work out. I saw a cartoon this week that made me smile. It was a drawing of a gravestone, and on it, it said, "I can't believe I ate all that kale." No matter how hard we work at things, they don't always go our way. So in the gospel we here's the hard news. The thing that we hope will never happen may just happen. The person that we think we can't live without may be taken. And we need to figure out what to do then. And of course, so the fear that we hear from the apostles, of course it makes sense. When is this going to happen? What is this all about? And he goes through this list because he wants it to be clear that it's the serious stuff. There's going to be wars. There are going to be natural disasters, and there's going to be plagues. There's going to be dictators, and it's going to come right to you. You yourself are going to be judged. You're going to be misunderstood. You're going to be wrongly accused. And he keeps going. Scary thing after scary thing after scary thing. And for those people who think that the gospel is only about 2,000 years ago, we know that what happened at Crossgates Mall yesterday is enough to put a chill in all of us. There is so much to be afraid of. So much out of our control. So what do? Jesus saves the advice for the very end. When our lives are falling apart, we are to dig down deeper than we have in the past. We are to know that God is in it, whatever it is, and that we will not be alone. That God did not bring us this far just to let us go now. Last weekend, I was away. I missed you. Hope you missed me too. I was in Washington, D.C., officiating a dear friend's wedding. And when we got to the vows, I felt the same way that I always feel at weddings during the vows. I just can't believe it. I can't believe that I can say, so, you're probably going to be poor at some point. And, one of you is probably going to get sick, and the other one's going to have to take care of them. And there's going to be bad times, plenty of bad times. So, are you in? I can't believe that they don't say, okay, so back to the bad times. Can you be a little more specific about that? But they never do. They say, I do. They embrace whatever is, not knowing what's going to happen. There is a way for us to be free from fear. There is a way to be free of fear. And the way is to be willing to take whatever life dishes out. If we are willing to accept whatever may come, we can live without fear. And we say, that's impossible. How can I accept whatever? It's when we know that God will be with us in it, whatever it is. I read recently about a Gallup poll of 350,000 Americans, and they studied those people who were in their 80s and those people who were in their 20s to ask the question, who's happier? People in their 80s or people in their 20s? Now, admittedly, it's not a fair comparison. People in their 80s have way more problems, way more aches and pains. They've been through more losses. They've been through a lot. And you could imagine that that wouldn't make it a very good comparison. But actually, it showed unanimously that people in their 80s tend to be happier than people in their 20s. And when they looked at the data and tried to figure it out, they realized it is likely because of what they call an accumulation of perspective. An accumulation of perspective over the years that says, I've already seen a lot in my life. I've been through plenty. And you know what? I survived it all. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And so if I got through that, I can get through this too. I'll figure it out. I've survived before. I'll survive again. It's good news for people in their 20s too, isn't it? Because it means that the best, the most confidence that we could have is yet to come. Which is a good thing because we are never going to run out of things that are out of our control. Life delivers them over and over and over. We knew going into this week's election that whatever happened, it would be historic and it would be something that divided us more than ever. We knew that from the campaign. So all of us had a little bit of control over it, and it was called our vote. We had one vote each, and we went. And then, after that, there was absolutely no control. Whatever happened was out of our hands. And we knew that today, when we gathered, that a large number of people would be happy, and an equally large number of people would be devastated. So what do we do with the things like that that we can't control? So many things like that are bound to happen. We've had people in this parish that have had their house burned down and lost everything. Many of you have experienced losing a job and having all the fear that comes with losing your income with no notice. Our loved ones are going to die, like all of us will, and not necessarily in the order that we'd expect. Doesn't always go by age. So it's like the vows all over again. There's going to be poverty. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be sickness. What do? We dig down deeper. And we find the reserves that God has placed there. And we trust that God is in this, even in this. So when the church gives us a gospel like this, our work for the week is clear. We've got to figure out, whatever it is that we're carrying around with us right now, how can we dig down deeper so that we can trust God more? What do we have to do? One thing might be to not run from that list of things that we're afraid of, to not say, all the things that we say, God forbid that ever happen. Maybe it would be to make a list of those things for ourselves and to say, that thing may happen, and God will be with me in that too. How can we develop that accumulation of perspective that we're hearing about in the gospel? How can we develop that? Even if we're not in our 80s, one of the things we can do is to get a further step back, to get a little further away so we can see the big picture and recognize that from the beginning of our life until now, we have gotten through struggle and that God was with us. And we're going to need to remember that for the future because there is so much that we cannot control. But we can live without fear if we're willing to accept with God whatever comes next.